Welcome to a meeting of your Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners. Representing District 1, Harry Cohen. Representing District 2, Ken Hagan. Representing District 3, Gwen Myers. Representing District 4, Christine Miller. Representing District 5, Donna Cameron Cepeda. Representing District 6, Pat Kemp. Representing District 7, Joshua Wostel. The County Administrator is Bonnie Wise. The County Attorney is Christine Beck. Time is set aside at the beginning of each meeting for citizens to speak on any issue. So we have time for everyone. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Today's meeting is brought to you with closed captioning by Hillsborough Television.
Morning and welcome to the July 17th, 2024 regularly scheduled board meeting of the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners. Would everyone please rise for the pledge and invocation given by our Chaplain Commissioner, Cameron Cepeda.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we come before you today with thanksgiving for who you are and your great love and mercy that you have for all of us. And we also thank you this morning for all of the recent retirees from Hillsborough County, recently retired in June from Aging Services, Glennis Young Johnson and Janine McMiller. In Development Services, Lawrence Morris. In Fire Rescue, David McGowan. In Facilities Management, Rolando Govia Rodriguez. In Performance Data and Analytics, Hiro Tejero. In Public Utilities, Emily Holman. In Social Services, Carolyn Turner. We thank you for blessing them with many special gifts and talents, and that they use them faithfully to serve your people here in Hillsborough County. And we pray for a very special blessing on their lives, that you bless them above and beyond what they could think or ask. Thank you for the special gifts that you've given them, special gifts and talents that they use them faithfully to serve us. And we just thank you for that. And this morning, we also pray for protection over President Joe Biden and also for protection over former President Donald Trump. And we also pray for peace and unity in our nation. And we ask you to bless this meeting in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda. This morning, Commissioner Kemp will be participating virtually, and it's my understanding that a roll call is unnecessary. All right, this morning we have one very special proclamation that will be presented by Commissioner Cohen.
Good morning, everyone. I would like to ask Sandra Sroka, the co-chair of the Hillsborough County Alliance for Citizens with Disabilities, to join me here at the podium. Good morning. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining us today. Perfect, thank you. Since it was signed into law 34 years ago, the Americans with Disabilities Act has played an important role in raising awareness and establishing a comprehensive national mandate for eliminating discrimination against individuals with disabilities. This legislation encourages all of us to celebrate one another's contributions and gifts, in addition to learning about universal design, accommodations, and accessibility to dispel the myths and apprehension about different personal abilities. It is my pleasure to present this proclamation to Ms. Sroka in honor of all people who live with disabilities as victors and never as victims. And I'm going to read the proclamation, and I have it in a little larger print here in front of me. Whereas July 26, 2024 marks the 34th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, landmark legislation that was passed to ensure people with disabilities have the same civil rights and opportunities as those who don't have disabilities. And whereas the principles of the Act foster equality and inclusion for all people with disabilities by reducing barriers, changing perceptions, and increasing full participation in community life. And whereas the law prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in all areas of public life, including jobs, schools, transportation, and all public and private places that are open to the community. And whereas the Americans with Disabilities Act mandates reasonable accommodations for people with disabilities, providing that everyone has full access to services, resources, and facilities. And whereas the Hillsborough County Alliance for Citizens with Disabilities enhances local compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, raises awareness about the equity of people, and advocates on behalf of people with disabilities. Whereas the 34th anniversary of the passage of the ADA is celebrated with the theme ADA 34, Celebrate, Learn, Share, Impacting Inclusion Through the Arts, which recognizes the importance of ensuring opportunities for the full inclusion and participation of residents with disabilities throughout the community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Hillsborough County, Florida, does hereby declare July 26th, 2024 as Americans with Disabilities Act 34th Anniversary Awareness Day in Hillsborough County, and urges all residents and visitors to celebrate the 34th anniversary of the passage of the law by reaffirming their commitment to its principles and by supporting equality and inclusion for people with disabilities. This is executed this day of 17th day of July. It is signed by all 7 county commissioners. And Ms. Soroka, we'd love you to say a few words.
Thank you.
Okay.
Please excuse. Just more proof that I'm not technologically savvy. Thank you, Commissioners, for recognizing the importance of the Americans with Disabilities Act and the impact it has had on the lives of people with disabilities and their families and caregivers. As a result of the ADA, physical obstacles are coming down while changing perceptions are giving rise to a more inclusive community in which for all of us to enjoy and thrive. On behalf of the Hillsborough County Alliance for Citizens with Disabilities, we thank you, Commissioners, I apologize for my back, for supporting the initiatives of the joint alliances and the continuing process of bringing awareness to our county's residents of the talents, the abilities, and the value of people with disabilities, as you so graciously mentioned. However, before I move away from the podium, I want to be sure and invite everyone to attend this year's celebration on July 26th at the Strass Center for the Performing Arts. It's a free evening of music, dance, and song by performing artists with disabilities from our Tampa Bay region area, and to recognize the winners of this year's Community Advocacy Awards. These awards are given to those individuals, businesses, and organizations who have demonstrated an outstanding commitment to create an inclusive community for people with disabilities. Thank you for the proclamation. Thank you for the county's support of what we do in the community.
Thank you, and let's take a picture.
Thank you, Commissioner Cohen. Bonnie, you want to review the changes to the agenda?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners, and a big welcome to Commissioner Miller for joining us today. We have one off the agenda item, which is item B4. This is to approve the public official bond certificate and invoice for newly appointed Hillsborough County Commissioner Christine Miller. We have one item that has been deferred until August 7th. It's item F1. These are the board appointments to the following boards: Building Board of Adjustment Appeals Examiners, Healthcare Advisory Board, the Hillsborough County Hospital Authority Board, and the Housing Finance Authority. We have several items for time certain. The first one is item D1. This is at 10 o'clock. This is to hold a public hearing to receive public input and discuss the list of proposed projects to be funded from the Renewed Community Investment Tax, CIT, for the period December 1, 2026 through December 31, 2041. This is related to item B3, which is also at 10 o'clock. This is to approve a Renewed Community Investment Tax, CIT, interlocal agreement in substantially the form is presented with the City of Tampa, the City of Temple Terrace, the City of Plant City, and the Hillsborough County School Board for the principal purpose of providing for the distribution of proceeds of the CIT, and that item is related to D1. The next item for time certain is item B1 at 10:15. This is to receive and take action by adoption of a resolution in the form presented on a directive of the School Board of Hillsborough County regarding calling an election on November 5th, 2024 for a referendum of the school board for the school board to levy additional ad valorem taxes for operating expenses in accordance with and mandated by state law. 11:45 is a recess for lunch. Those are the changes to the agenda.
Can we have a motion to approve the changes?
Move for approval.
Motion, Commissioner Meyer, second Commissioner Cohen. Please record your vote on the changes to the agenda.
Commissioner Kemp? Commissioner Kemp?
Commissioner Kemp, can you hear us? She's not responding.
Motion carried 6-0.
The board will go in the public comment portion of the agenda. The board welcomes comments from citizens about any issue or concern. Your opinions are valued in terms of providing valuable input to board members. However, at the same time, it is requested that when you address the board, that comments are not directed personally at commissioner or staff, but rather the issues. We've set aside 45 minutes for public comment this morning. When you come forward, please state your name. Speak clearly in the microphone. Each person will be given 3 minutes. We have one person signed up for public comment on the agenda and 15 that have signed up for off the agenda items. The first 3 speakers are Bobby Anderson, followed by David Coleman, and then Brooke Ward.
Just hit the arrow.
Good morning, sir.
Bobby Anderson, 410 South Ware Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33619. Good morning. I'm up here to discuss the potential opt-out of the missing middle tax savings. Just by way of background, I manage all new developments for Alliance Residential in Central and North Florida. Alliance is one of the largest apartment developers in the United States, and we're the largest provider of new workforce housing in the country. We are also the largest developer of new workforce housing in Florida, including over 1,600 workforce apartments in Hillsborough. I'd like to discuss the realities of the multifamily development market today. In this current environment, almost all new apartment deals do not pencil. The cost to build an apartment is at or above the completed value if sold today, which has led to a lack of capital for new deals, and because of that, the starts for new apartments are back to levels not seen since 2011. There's some good news for renters, though. Due to robust supply, rents have actually declined by 2% over the last year, and concessions have increased. Also, the cost of rent is still substantially cheaper than owning. The bad news for renters is that demand is still high due to migration, and that starts are very low, which will eventually lead to higher rents. I know the Schemberger report allows Hillsborough County to opt out, but the methodology in the report is flawed. The reality is that Hillsborough has a housing shortage. Despite record supply, Hillsborough County has a shortage of 6,600 apartments and will need 53,000 new apartments over the next 5.5 years. The Live Local Act, including the missing middle tax provision, was designed as a bipartisan bill to help spur attainable housing across Florida. The bill has its flaws. I think you guys would agree with that. I would agree with that. But I think the intentions of the bill were actually good. Despite the housing crisis, over the last week, this commission has proposed to strip away some of the provisions of this bill that developers like myself are using to create much-needed workforce housing in this county. I ask that before you start stripping away these provisions, I think it's only prudent that you guys consider how you plan on tackling the housing crisis for so many of your constituents. I want to give you two examples here. Both of these projects pictured above have been accepted into the program, and due to the benefits that we are receiving, we are able to offer apartments to renters in the 90 to 96% of AMI range. This would not be possible without the tax abatement. So in conclusion, attainable housing deals do not pencil without help. The Schimberg report is flawed, and Hillsborough has a housing crisis. Lead times to provide new housing are long, and what you decide today will affect our working-class residents for years to come. The Live Local Act, although flawed, but before opting out parts of the act, please come up with your plan to address the crisis. And finally, as one of the largest apartment developers in the state, we are sincerely attempting to do our best, but we can't do that alone, and we need to work together with you guys in order to solve this crisis. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. David Coleman, followed by Brooke Ward, and then Callista Snyder. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, David Coleman. It's difficult to sit in a room with a proclamation for ADA and no closed caption on the thing. I'm very hard of hearing. A couple of weeks ago, I started writing all the things over the past year that I felt should be an ethics committee investigation on, and it didn't take me long to come up with a list of 25 items while I was sitting. Anyway, the governor has since passed an ethics law one has to witness firsthand. Well, I call on you to file cases on each other. This board has issues. On agenda item B3, please vote yes to support and adopt a referendum submitted by our county school board to allow this to be placed on the ballot for general public to vote on during this November 5th general election. On the TICO rate hike, board members have said repeatedly that there is nothing they can do. Well, here is something that the county most definitely can do, and if they don't, it's because they're choosing not to and failing to act. Only one commissioner spoke at the in-district hearings, even though there was ample time reserved at the beginning for elected officials to express their concerns. The PSC reconvenes in August to approve, amend, or reject the Tampa Electric's request for a rate increase, meaning that the time to act is now. I believe it was lawyers on the residents' side that said that the PSC would absolutely add into consideration any comment by the BOCC. So I just don't get where you've been for the past year saying you got nothing to say on this issue. Hillsborough County has the power to intervene. Okay, now, as far as the upcoming budget, one member here in this room said that they're coming up to the next budget with an axe. Do you really believe that's what the majority of 1.5 million people want? The mayor of Tampa presented a 1,000-page budget for a $2 billion budget. County came up with 600 pages of barely any information, especially on housing, for a $9 billion budget. I have pleaded for transparency and gotten none. Millions over the past year in agenda items with barely an explanation. One day, someone smarter than me is going to review what this board's been doing. Please be transparent, record all meetings, no more transcripts 2 months after the fact. This is not your room, it's the people's room. And as far as the ADA, A8, economic development, was removed from the agenda from what I can see. Did you do that on purpose because you were having an ADA discussion? Removing all of those words about contractors? I really got a question on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Brooke Ward, followed by Callista Snyder, and then David Sinclair. Good morning.
Good morning and welcome, Commissioner Miller. We're happy to have you here. My name is Brooke Ward. I am the senior Florida organizer with Food and Water Watch, and I am also part of the larger Hillsborough Affordable Energy Coalition. We represent over 12,000 Hillsborough residents, and thank you for giving us this time here today to speak. As the previous speaker just said, we've been coming and asking for help with skyrocketing electricity bills. And time again, Chair Hagan and other members of the board have said there's nothing we can do, but that's false. There's been several things that could be done. One was last month, for the first time in 15 years, the Public Service Commission came here to Hillsborough County and gave space at the beginning of that meeting to hear from local elected officials, but only one local elected official showed up and spoke against these rate hikes that are harming Hillsborough County residents, the people who voted you into office. Now, there is an opportunity for the Hillsborough County Commission to intervene as a party, both on behalf of Hillsborough County as a Tampa Electric customer and on behalf of the residents of Hillsborough County. Hillsborough County is in a unique position. You represent 84% of Tampa Electric's customers. So you do have standing. In fact, I spoke to the secretary of the chair of the Public Service Commission, and she said that if this commission intervened in Tampa Electric's rate hikes, it would make a huge difference on how the decision was made in that case. So now is the opportunity to act. It's okay you didn't come last month, we'll forgive you. But you have the opportunity to intervene as a party right now and make a difference in this case. And then you also have the opportunity to pass local policy that helps to increase our energy efficiency, phase out fossil fuels, and help to address the energy burden. We've got that coming your way. But for right now, today, don't be the commission that doesn't do anything. Be the commission that does something. And have Hillsborough County intervene as a party in the Tampa Electric rate case and oppose those rates. Several of you, this might be your last few months on the commission. We have an election coming up. So give yourself a legacy. Go out of here as the commission that did something, that stood up for the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. Kalista Snyder, followed by David Sinclair, and then Connor Coughlin. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Kalista Snyder. I am a working biologist in Hillsborough County as well as a member of the Hillsborough Affordable Energy Coalition. And I'm here today to ask you the same thing for the last time that I am able to intervene on behalf of your constituents at the PSC August hearing and oppose these TECO rate hikes. Your citizens simply cannot afford to pay higher electric bills so that TECO can give their investors an even higher return on investment. And as humans, we cannot afford to pay the cost of fossil fuels anymore, period. You have the power. We were told by the Public Service Commission that you have the power, but you've been telling us for months that you don't. That's just simply not true. The effects of climate change have been studied and proven for years. I studied them myself. It's undeniable. I'm not here to argue that fact, but this can be your first step in helping your citizens addressing their energy burden. Please advocate for those who vote for you. As Brooke said, this can be one of your last opportunities for that. And oppose these hikes. Help your citizens, help those who help you, don't help TECO, who only answers to themselves. Thank you.
Thank you. David Sinclair, followed by Connor Coughlin, and then Bill Henry. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, friends. Good morning. My name is David Sinclair, 8434 Pebble Circle, Tampa, Florida. I'm with the Hillsborough Affordable Energy Coalition and with LULAC, the League of United Latin American Citizens. I'm asking the Board of County Commission to intervene as a party in the Tampa Electric rate case before the Florida Public Service Commission. My case to you today will be based on morality as defined by the principles of conduct concerning the distinction between right and wrong. I'm asking you to support the county residents who've expressed a deep concern over the financial impact that they fear if the Public Service Commission in Florida were to accept the TICO proposed rate increase. I'm asking you to reflect on the moral conduct today that you see if you were to take a wrong turn to the blind eye, that the clamor of your constituents are asking you. If it's not clear to you that if the Public Service Commission grants TICO the rate increase, that there will be more wrongs to befall on the constituents next year. It's a moral decision between right and wrong. The constituents are asking you to make a moral choice. For them, it is wrong to turn a blind eye to what they're asking you, to simply make a decision to send a message to the Public Service Commission that they believe it is wrong to grant this rate increase. Our seniors are not spending money that goes for the TICO bill on pedicures or manicures. That would be an immoral decision for them to do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Connor Coughlin, followed by Bill Henry and Miles Fisher. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Connor Coughlin of RGA Design. We were one of the proposals for the RFP regarding the redevelopment of the land surrounding the Mosey Center. So I just want to make clear today that we're not contesting this bid, but just expressing our confusion regarding the county's economic policies. So today I have two kind of contradictory quotes that reflect the miscommunication within the county about their economic policy and their goals with this RFP. So the first one is from Jessica Petrovic, who's the Director of Economic Development. And the other one is from Greg Horadell, the Deputy County Administrator, who's speaking at the last county meeting, also regarding the same RFP. This is from Jessica Petrovic. Says, the biggest issue I had with Alliant, which was the alternative proposal, was their proposal being residential, which was not the drive of this RFP. They were also pretty focused on being an amenity for USF, which I also don't see as a driving force of this RFP. I think it's a positive externality to benefit USF, but I was looking at it from more an economic development perspective, and I didn't see a whole lot about high-value jobs. There's also a lot of retail discussion. So from that perspective, I like the RGA proposal, had an economic development bioscience focus, which is something that I see as a driver of this RFP. I like that they switched their proposal to be more workforce-focused, more focused on jobs. And this is from Greg Horadell 2 weeks ago. It says, we have also indicated a couple board meetings ago that there are other opportunities for anchoring the entertainment industry, possibly by looking for an indoor sports facility, which would help generate interest in the site and create need and demand for hotel space, which frankly not only generates ad valorem value, but also tourism tax dollars. So next after me is the principal architect for my firm, which is Bill Henry.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Got Bill Henry, followed by Miles Fisher, and then William Laurie, who's virtual. Good morning, sir.
So, following up, and I know I don't want to make this specific to any situation other than economic development policy, so I want to speak to the larger subject because the response on the Mosey RFP, I think, confused us. The RFP confused us because, on the one hand, the RFP indicated that it was supposed to be for economic development and high-paying jobs. On the other hand, we heard talk about tourism and amenity packages and stadiums and so forth, and Miles, who comes after me, will quote those policies. So I've served on the economic development arm known as the Industrial Development Authority for 8 years, and trying to get high-paying jobs in this community is very challenging. That site is an unusual site, the Mosey site. It's on supposedly the innovation corridor. which was slated to be for high-tech, high-paying jobs, not an amenity package for USF. And so we would have probably not responded to that RFP if we had some clarity about the actual policy being so fluid. So what we're talking about here today is tourism as an economic development engine versus high-paying jobs. High-paying jobs. We brought in a company named Brennan, and it was told to you by one of your staff members that they were just a member of the team. They were not just a member of the team. They were part of the development master developer. I was the agent, or I am the agent for that development team. So I wanted to clarify that because we made that clear 3 times in a response to the RFP and in the selection committee meetings and so forth. I think you have a bigger issue here in front of you. Is this going to be a Silicon Valley or research triangle, or is this going to be an entertainment corridor? You know, Fletcher Avenue and Fowler Avenue are supposed to be the innovation corridor, supposed to be for high-tech jobs. Your decision reflects that you and your discussion about stadiums and about tourism are very confusing. And I think you need to clarify your economic development policy. And I heard the gentleman talking about low-cost housing. Tourism creates low-paying jobs, $36,000 a year. A research triangle and high-tech jobs like we're proposing to bring to the table are $100,000 plus. So, you know, it's that decision. It's a policy decision, and it's reflected in your decision about which development team is going to develop Mosey. And you made a decision for tourism. That's very clear. Now, that may be appropriate, and certainly tourism is part of it, but what about the high-tech jobs? So just to follow up and finish this, is the highest and best use.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Henry.
Thank you.
Appreciate
We'd like to come back and
Yes,
talk
sir.
about a carve-out.
Miles Fisher, and then followed by William Laurie Virtual, and then Isabella Moeller. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners. As Bill stated, I'm here to, just as a reminder, read into the record what your driving policies were for the Mosey RFP. 1, an innovative and inclusive development plan focused on establishing a sense of place with an appropriate mix of uses, including hospitality, entertainment, and retail to be integrated with other marketable uses in public spaces. Amenities. Number 2, a development pattern that is dense, integrating mixed uses and driving change by introducing desired targeted industries and economic drivers to the mix, such as biosciences, life sciences, cybersecurity, and other advanced industries. Research and development. Number 3, a community mixed-use creative digital space to complement Mosey's future planetarium and learning labs. The new creative digital space could include a commercial or film studio, black box theater, and other visual performing arts platforms, such as the new space becomes an integral part of the overall entertainment opportunities created as a result of this RFP. That's amenities. Number 4, a true urban mixed-use project that embraces transit and other forms of sustainable mobility, both within the development but also externally to the district and the larger region. And number 5, a development that capitalizes on the synergy and proximity to USF, a preeminent state research university, and the other institutional drivers in close proximity, like Moffitt, the VA Hospital, Yingling Center, etc. By considering the opportunities that create commercialization of patents, intellectual property, and scalable businesses, research and development. Now, as Connor stated, we have some contradicting statements. And I wouldn't say they're contradicting more, they're both right. But if they're both right, I would say then both aspects should be located on this site. Now, Mr. Hagan, I agree with you that this is a perfect site for amenities, for a black box theater, for things to support USF, but we need the economic drivers to support it. You know, I know that everyone, and the county included, wants to win. And just if one group wins, it doesn't mean that the other groups have to lose. All we're asking is to carve out 30 acres that would provide high-paying jobs and a lot of support to the area. Again, we are not disputing the award, but we are just asking you to consider the possibilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. William Laurie. Is Mr. Laurie on the line?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Okay. Hey, good morning. My name is William Laurie. I'm also here with the HAEC talking about the TICO rate hikes. Most of what I was going to say has been covered, but I'll reiterate on those points. Climate change is very real. I know we feel it. You'll feel it when you go outside. You'll feel it on your lunch break when you try to sit outside or have a smoke break. It's a terrible feeling. Since 2019, the TICO rates have gone up 62%, which is double the rate of inflation. Your citizens can't afford this sort of thing. I don't know if you can afford this sort of thing. I can't afford this sort of thing. Unless you're an investor in TICO, which would be a pretty dramatic conflict of interest, it would be in everyone's best interest if you talk to the Public Service Commission about stopping this sort of thing. It's reprehensible. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Got Isabella Moeller, followed by Veronica Morahan, and then Briaja Gonzalez. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Isabella Moeller, and I'm a student at USF and an intern with Food and Water Watch. And I'm also here today to ask you to stand with your constituents and fight against the profit-driven rate hikes on our electricity bills. I live in an off-campus apartment, and my rent is increasing by over $70 next year, which is partly due to rising energy costs. As a full-time college student, also working part-time, I'm struggling to keep up with these increasing bills. I should be focused on my studies and extracurriculars, not calculating how many more shifts I need to cover my groceries and rent. And I only have to worry about myself. I can't imagine the strain that skyrocketing bills impose on households and families who are already struggling to make ends meet. Throughout my internship with Food and Water Watch this summer, I've been out in the community talking to Hillsborough County residents and businesses about increasing utility bills, and it is clear this issue is deeply felt countywide. People are not only enraged by these rate increases, but they're also fearful of what the future holds. I specifically remember speaking to an elderly woman in District 2 who keeps her house at 82 degrees because she can't afford to turn on the air conditioning. None of us are immune to the heat this time of year, and no one, especially an elderly woman, should be deprived of AC in this heat because they can't afford it. Do you want that on your conscience? The County Commission can make a huge impact on TICO's rate case, and you are fooling yourself if you think otherwise. Chair Hagan has said repeatedly that there is nothing you can do. But we all know that's not true. You can, and you should intervene in the TICO rate case. If you choose to stay silent on this issue, you are choosing inaction at a time where you have an opportunity to protect the people who voted you into office. Therefore, I urge you to choose action and embody the role of a county commissioner, a civil servant dedicated to protecting and improving the lives of your constituents. The PSC reconvenes on August 5th to begin discussions on whether to approve, amend, or reject Tampa Electric's request for rate increases. I'm asking the Hillsborough County Commission to intervene in the TICO rate case and oppose Tampa Electric's rate hikes. This is your chance to show Hillsborough County residents that you are on our side. You know what the right thing to do is. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moeller. Veronica Morahan, Briaja Gonzalez, and Brittany Panton. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Commission. I'm Veronica Morajon, a long-term Tampa local, born and raised here in the Tampa Bay area. I'm also a member of the Hillsborough Affordable Energy Coalition. I'm also a Food and Water Watch organizer. I'm here to ask that the Commission intervene as a party and oppose TICO's rate hikes and make steps in leading the county towards long-term clean and affordable energy. I grew up in Apollo Beach, home of the Big Bend power plant. And growing up, it's what identified the, at the time, smaller town from the city and other surrounding neighborhoods. My elementary school, Apollo Beach Elementary, is roughly 2 miles from the Big Bend power plant and roughly 0.8 miles from surrounding TICO property. When I was younger, attention wasn't directed towards TICO. I was told to identify the plant as a quote-unquote cloud maker. Yes, cloud maker, which to a third grader sounds super necessary and quite beautiful. I have photos of me and my classmates, Tico stacks in the background pushing out smoke, smiling, unaware of Tico, the not cloud maker. I share this story here today with individuals in this room, to individuals online, and to the commission, because I'm not alone. Today, even as an adult, I look around to see that others have bought into a false narrative of Tico, how they operate, and what they prioritize. Now, you might not believe Tico is a cloud maker, but I can guarantee that whatever positive outlook you do believe of Tico is false. I'm second generation here to Cuban immigrants, and my family is now in our third generation, 2 boys, who I will call for the sake of this meeting today, Melvin and Nelson, who are currently attending Apollo Beach Elementary as I and the generations that followed me once had. I stand here today as a granddaughter, 2 grandparents, both on Social Security and with fixed incomes, as a big cousin, as a concerned neighbor, as my third grade self and hopeful future self, in the hopes that you all will intervene in this Tico rate hearing come August, and intervene as a party as well to oppose, as I had already said, on Tico's rate hikes, again and again, until the livelihoods of your constituents are shielded from excessive energy burdens into the future, well into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Briaja Gonzalez, followed by Brittany Panton, and then Stephen Kaufman. Good morning.
Hello, you can hear me?
Yes.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm here to also talk about the Tico rate hikes. It might feel like, keep hearing it might sound like beating a dead horse, but in all fairness, from our perspective, that's how we feel when we keep asking you guys for help and you keep telling us you can't do nothing. Just feels like a dead horse just keep getting beat into the ground. I'm currently a full-time college student, part-time phlebotomist, and even with me working into the medical field, which is statistically supposed to help us like have higher, lower income, but even then, I still have to take up a second job on top of school and already a current part-time job. It's just not enough. With transportation fees, the cost of food going up, the cost of living going up. So with the 62% increase, like how, I forgot who said it, but mentioning it, yeah, that's double the inflation. So we would have to fight inflation plus the inflation of our energy burden. When I first moved into my apartment, like the Tico was messed up. Like it wouldn't go nowhere. You could set it to 68 degrees, but the house is still 82 degrees inside. And with my thermostat being broken, my light bill went from $92 to almost $300. And as a, like I said, a full-time college student and working 2 part-time jobs now, it's very, very strenuous, not just on me. And I'm just a college student, so I already know how it may feel for, parents and family and people who have kids or elderly or people who have to take care of the elderly. In this heat, with the climate change getting worse, we need to have our energy at an affordable price because the world is already warming up. We shouldn't be getting toasted and baked inside our house as well. So all I am here to ask you guys is just please, use your voice. We voted for you for a reason. We believe in you. So just use your voice for the greater good. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Will you please state your name?
My name is Briaja Gonzalez.
All right, thank you. Brittany Panton, followed by Stephen Kaufman, and then Robert Weinstock. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello, commissioners. My name is Brittany, and I am here with the Hillsborough Affordable Energy Coalition, and I am a Tampa organizer with Central Florida Job with Justice. I'm a single mother and a resident of Hillsborough County of 35 years. This heat is no joke. We all can agree to that, huh? Having affordable energy is a must, right? Unfortunately, Tico has been raising our rates so high that it has landed people I know and love to become homeless. I'm up here to ask a simple question that can make a huge impact. Please oppose Tampa electric rate hike. Please voice, write, email, call the Public Service Commissions before August 5th Do what is right for the people of the county that voted each and every one of you in the position you are in. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. The last three speakers, Stephen Kaufman, which is virtual, followed by Robert Weinstock, and then Denise Herndon. Mr. Kaufman on the line.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Yes, I'm Stephen Kaufman, a leader in our faith community, member of the Hillsborough Affordable Energy Coalition, representing the Hillsborough League of Women Voters. And I'm urging, as my colleagues have, that the County Commission, one last time, has an opportunity to intervene as a party in the Tampa Electric petition for rate increase case. The TFC reconvenes on August 5th to begin discussions on whether to approve, amend, or reject Tampa Electric's request for rate increases is what I'm concerned about. It's time for you to act. As Hillsborough County has the power to intervene, as a party both on behalf of the county, as a TECO customer, and on behalf of struggling Hillsborough families, most of whom are TECO customers, please take action today on behalf of constituents who are already forced to decide whether to buy medication and food or to pay their electric bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Robert Weinstock. And then the last speaker is Denise Herndon. Good morning, sir.
Morning. Good morning. And thank you for the opportunity to speak. Bob Weinstock, 18414 Oriole Street, Lutz, Florida. Been a resident of Lutz in Hillsborough County since 1983. And I'm here to basically talk about three things. Number one, I want to thank you for your service. I know the positions that you guys hold is, as I've learned this morning, you got to be good listeners. And I commend you for what you're doing. I want to particularly thank the Office of Ken Hagan. District 2 has been, he and his staff have been exceptional and very responsive for years. So thank you, Commissioner Hagan.
Thank you, sir.
The two things that I'm going to discuss basically is Van Dyke Road in Hillsborough County. We were told as residents of Lutz that Van Dyke would be widened or fixed from Dale Mabry heading west to Calusa Trace Boulevard. It's basically all potholes and pothole patches. And we were told that that road was going to be addressed. I want to say it was 2025, and it's possibly being pushed back to 2027 or 2028. The road's taken a lot of punishment and a lot of use due to the growth in that part of the county. So if that could be looked at and addressed, I know the residents in that area would appreciate it. The main reason I'm standing here is I got something that's kind of grinding my gears, and that's every time I look at a Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office piece of equipment or car, I see our sheriff's name on it. And I don't quite understand that. I don't think TPD does it. I know the fire trucks don't have it. Y'all don't have your name. We got a beautiful park in Calusa Trace. Commissioner Hagan was a big part of that. His name's not on the sign. I don't understand why the sheriff's office has the sheriff's name on the back of all the vehicles and the equipment. It's an expense. It's a political advantage, an undue advantage. I appreciate the job that the sheriff's department does and the sheriff himself, but I think it's a policy that should be looked at. The counties around us, I couldn't tell you whether they do it or not, but as a taxpayer, I think it's a misuse of public dollars, and I think the practice should be stopped. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Last speaker this morning, Denise Herndon. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Denise Herndon. I want to thank you, Ken Hagan, for getting John Mueller involved in that hump going over my driveway. It was removed last Thursday, and it is so nice to come out of my driveway and not to have to fight with it. Thank you very much. But during that process, I found out there's a lot of false information in your guys' computers concerning this. This is, I have some certified stuff, but, oh, it's not going to show up. This here is something that I had pulled up out of the property appraiser site, and it's got false information concerning when the property that is highlighted there was purchased. I have here false information in this police report from 2021. I have another sheriff's report that has false information in it, and these are certified police reports. Somebody either has a back door to your computer system or you have employees. Just last 2 days ago, my ID was stolen. I've had about this amount of cards through the years of being stalked. They've been stolen. Somebody can take that information, since I already know there's false information in the police reports, and put false information in there concerning me. The last meeting, I listened to, something told me to listen to my 3 minutes, and there's a lot of stuff edited out of there that made the whole conversation, what I said, a different story. There's something going on here that I have body cams where there's sheriff's body cams where there's stuff edited out, sheriff's reports, EMS reports where there's information in there that never happened. These are your guys' computers, and you as county commissioners should be concerned about what information is going through your clerk of the court, your property appraisers, your EMS, and your sheriff's department. Because they've been hacked, or someone's got a back door some way, putting whatever they want to control somebody's life. And thank you very much for addressing that, because I will keep going. As I said, I'm a persistent little piss. I will never give up, and I will never back down on these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Herndon. That closes the public comment portion of the agenda. Can we have a motion to approve the consent?
Second.
Motion, Commissioner Cohen. Second, Commissioner Myers. No comments. Please record your vote on the consent agenda.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right, Bonnie, you want to introduce the first item?
Yes, our first item is going to be item B2. This is to adopt a resolution by supermajority vote to not exempt property eligible for the property tax exemption. This is pursuant to the Live Local Act. Adam Gormley with Development Services will present this item.
Good morning, Commissioners. Adam Gormley with Development Services Department. Item B2 is a request for the board to adopt a resolution that would remove the exemption for certain affordable housing projects that provide housing to people with incomes greater than 80 but not more than 120% of the median annual adjusted gross income by household. This is a exemption that would, without the opt-out that's being considered here today, it would allow for exemption of up to 75% of the ad valorem value for ad valorem taxation purposes. This resolution was requested by the board at the June 20th regular BOCC meeting, and I'm available for any questions. Again, this is a supermajority vote for this resolution. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Wostel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to address some of the comments that were made during public comment, specifically about, I've beat this drum a lot. This is us subsidizing the bottom line of a developer with property taxes which are also paid by those that are very low income members of the community, because I for some reason have to remind folks that poor people also own homes and pay property taxes. And for us to have the position to subsidize a developer's bottom line with those property taxes makes absolutely no sense. And I would also point out that this board has been taking action, tough actions on addressing availability of homes by addressing possible expansions of the urban service area to allow for more property available to build home inventory in Hillsborough County. So I congratulate us on making those hard decisions and properly planning for new homes in the future, and I will be supporting this motion. I don't see anybody else in the queue, so I will move for approval.
Okay, we got a motion to approve, Commissioner Wostel, second Commissioner Cameron Cepeda. And board members, if you recall, I'm the one that brought those forward last meeting. It was unanimously voted on the board to direct staff to draft this resolution. I agree with Commissioner Wostel. Essentially what this does is prevent developers from getting lucrative tax breaks for projects designed for higher income households. We're talking 80 to 120% of AMI, salary up to nearly $115,000. You know, those aren't the folks that need help here. This action is provided in state statutes. It's similar to the action that Pasco County took, so I wholeheartedly support it. And with that, I got a motion by
I would
Commissioner.
like to comment as well.
Okay, Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'll just say that I'm as well supporting this. I have supported affordable housing for all my years on the board, and I do regret that we had 10 million set aside for 4 years in a row for under 100% of AMI, and most of it was 80% of AMI, truly for those who needed it, and that we got rid of some other, not only leveraging that money to build affordable housing in Hillsborough County and reducing it from 10 million to 2 million. But this is a different animal, and I agree that with the state legislature and the live local, that it is subsidizing truly the unaffordable housing in many ways at 120% of AMI. We're talking about 20% over average median income that we're subsidizing, and that is not affordable housing. And so I'm totally on board with this as well, and I don't I don't think that was really the state legislative, the way they crafted it did not really bring more affordable housing to our area, and so I'm totally in support of this as well.
All right, thank you. I don't see anyone else in the queue. We have a motion and a second. Please record your vote on B2.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right, Bonnie?
Thank you. We have one other regular agenda item that's not a time certain. It's item B4. This is to approve the public official bond certificate for Commissioner Miller, and Rick Van Arsdale will take us through this item.
As she said, this is the public official bond for Commissioner Miller. The premium is only $100 because it's only for 5 months, and it's required by state statute.
Move approval. Second.
Seems kind of stiff to me.
I know.
I got to tell you, I don't know. I'm on the fence on this one. All right, we got a motion by Commissioner Cohen, second by Commissioner Myers. Okay, please record your vote.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Okay, Bonnie?
Thank you. It's now 10 o'clock, so we can move to item D1. This is to hold a public hearing and receive public input and discuss the list of proposed projects and eligible projects to be funded with the community investment tax for December 2026 through December of 2041. Greg Horwedel will provide a brief presentation. Commissioners, this item, after your public hearing, is related to item B3, which is then the interlocal agreement regarding the community investment tax. We have the three mayors that are here today. We have Vice Mayor from Plant City, Mayor Castor from from Tampa, and we have Mayor Ross from Temple Terrace. And we have representatives from the school district as well as the sheriff's office here available for any questions as well. And I'll turn it over to Mr. Horwedel.
Morning, Greg.
Thank you, Bonnie. Board members, here to make a brief presentation, hopefully the last step before we put this item on the ballot in November, but we're anxious to hear the board's comments and discussion following this presentation and the public hearing. The community investment tax was initially approved in September of 1996. It was a 30-year tax. We are in year 28. The ballot language that you all adopted back in April is the language that would appear on the ballot. It cannot be changed at this point. There's simply not enough time. So this is the language that you have authorized us to put on the ballot before the community. There are a number of CIT benefits throughout the community, not just in unincorporated Hillsborough County, but also in all of our partner municipalities. Lots of fire stations, lots of road improvements, many parks and recreation projects, lots of sidewalk projects. And these are all done, I think, in good stewardship by the county. We have been excellent stewards of these dollars and made dramatic improvements in the county as a result of the CIT. As the board directed back in April, the revenue distribution is slightly changed from how we have it currently. 5% would go to the school board. Part of the conversation, as you may recall, was that back in '96, the school board did not have the ability to levy its own capital ad valorem tax, but today it does. So the board had that discussion, settled on the 5%. The remaining revenue would be distributed by the population-based state-shared half-cent sales tax formula. And as reflected in that formula, of the 1.5 million residents in Hillsborough County, nearly 1 million of those residents live in unincorporated Hillsborough County. This does show the estimated revenue distribution based upon that formula. I would emphasize that these are estimates. They're based upon receiving in year one $200 million of revenue with annual 3% increases. And as noted earlier, our share is the largest because we have the largest slice of population. Eligible CIT project categories are very, very similar to what we have today. So if the renewal were to occur, you would see projects done in these areas: transportation and public works, and that includes a lot of road resurfacing, sidewalks, intersection improvements. Public safety is the next category: fire stations, law enforcement and emergency management, and courthouses. Next category is public facilities, which would be community centers, pet resources shelter, parks, athletic fields, sports facilities, and other community-oriented buildings. Public utilities would be septic to sewer, water connections, line extensions, and potentially landfill closures. The lists were approved by our partner entities as well. They had public hearings and they presented their own lists, and those were emailed to you for your consideration. You are not approving their list. They have already done that. Our list, however, we'll talk about in the next few slides. So eligible project allocations, these generally align with the current CIT. So we wanted to make sure that the public understood that we weren't dramatically changing how we were going to spend CIT dollars, that it was important for them to recognize they were still going to get a number of transportation improvements and public facilities that would benefit the community. So 50%, for example, is going toward transportation. 22% is going to public facilities, public safety, almost 20%, public utilities, almost 7%, and then we do have contingency. I would note that the largest share is targeted for our most pressing need, which is transportation. So staff was asked to put together a list of projects in each category that would span the 15-year term of a renewed CIT. The list presented in the next 4 slides are based upon priorities that staff heard the board identify and discuss during workshops and board meetings regarding current and future community needs. Inclusion in the list makes these projects eligible for CIT funding. It also identifies for the public the type and the scope of projects that the board carefully considered as commissioners discussed what a renewed CIT should target over the next 15 years. Eligible projects would also become part of the county's capital improvement plan and would be part of the annual budget discussions. The board did establish a limit of no more than 70% of renewed CIT revenue could be bonded. Some large-scale projects on this list could be bonded early on so that they come online earlier, which means that residents could enjoy the benefits of those projects earlier as well. However, no decisions have been made about which projects would be eligible for that. That is a board decision, and we would cross that bridge once we get past November. Please note that the repaving percentage shown on this list is supplemented by the return of $256 million in 2018 transportation sales surtax revenue collected from Hillsborough County residents as part of a citizen referendum that ultimately was invalidated by the Florida Supreme Court. The state budget recently signed by the governor sends some of the revenue back to Hillsborough County so that we can use those funds for repaving. Still working out the details on how that mechanism would work, but we want to make sure that you understand that the dollars are additive to what is shown here. So every dollar that we're spending in CIT here would be supplemented on repaving with those additional dollars given back to us by the state. Public facilities also have a number of eligible projects, and they would be factored into the county's capital improvement program. Please note that there are two minor changes on this slide from what was distributed to you last week. One, the spelling of Sadie Park was corrected, and secondly, there's a fuller description of other community facilities that we added in parentheses. Projects here could include funding for the zoo, which is actually currently part of our existing CIT, or other non-governmental entities. So note that those CIT dollars can only be used for public purposes by those entities. Staff evaluated potential projects first by listening to board direction on CIT categories, and secondly by evaluating how projects might enhance operational efficiency or reduce operating costs. For example, the line about artificial turf, we do think that that significantly reduces our operating and maintenance costs for fields and makes them much more available to the citizens of our community. Finally, stadium and arena facilities are county-owned. The county is responsible for the capital maintenance and repair costs. Using renewed CIT revenue for these future expenses means visitors help pay for those repairs because approximately 20% of the CIT revenue is paid for by people coming in from outside of Hillsborough County. Public safety has been a hot topic for the board over the last few years. The projects that are eligible here would be fire stations. Those are a critical need. 9 are included here in this list. Population growth has also made it a priority for the sheriff's office to continue to be able to provide safety to our residents. So unfortunately, a jail expansion is necessary to handle the growing needs of our population. A training center also needs to be included because we want to make sure that our deputies have the finest state-of-the-art training possible to handle the situations that they might encounter. In addition, our courts complex is woefully inadequate. It's very cramped, the courtrooms are out of date, and the parking and security is really not what we would want to see in a county like Hillsborough. Would note that this project absolutely depends upon state dollars to make that happen because we cannot afford to do it all, and the state has funded other courthouse projects, and we would expect that to be something that we discuss with you when we talk about our legislative priorities later this year. Public utilities, stormwater projects, all of those are incredibly important for our residents as we continue to see increased rainfall and stronger storms. We need to make sure we have the infrastructure available that can handle that stormwater. We do have a stormwater utility. However, the revenue generated from that utility fund from each property owner is not sufficient to do the level of projects that we have planned. So we would suggest that these are viable projects for us to be able to use and make sure our residents get get the protection from storms that they need. Septic to sewer projects also help protect the environment by replacing leaking septic systems, and we've included 3 eligible projects here. Finally, you'll note that there's a contingency fund. This fund could be used to handle cost overruns for projects that are on this list or other projects in the future. Could be used if there were future projects. We would follow the same process that we're going through today. If there's not a project on the list, then we would add it, have a public hearing, and the board would, by resolution, adopt that project, therefore making it eligible for CIT expenditure. And my last slide is the timeline thus far. You can see that we're a little more than halfway through. There's been a significant amount of work done by all of our partners, staff, and the board to get us to this point. The required OPAGA audit is well underway. We expect that all of those will be completed within the timeline shown. I would note that CIT is critical. Make sure that we get this across the finish line. It is a funding source that will enable us to continue to handle the increased growth in Hillsborough County. We look forward to the public hearing and hearing from you all as you discuss how to move forward. We're available for any questions following that. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate the presentation. Before we open up the public hearing, I know we have 3 special guests that have joined us this morning. Want to give them an opportunity to say a few words. Mayor Castor, would you like to say a few words? Good morning.
Thank you, Chair Hagan and commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity to speak about the CIT this morning and the significance of it. Also pleased to share with you that on June 13th, our City Council passed the resolution for continuance of CIT and the associated project list that they had been presented with. And this continuation of the CIT is critically important for our community. Our city, the estimation of this funding is for the current size of our city, and as you all know, we are estimated to see significant growth, not only in the 3 cities, but in the county going into the future. And so those needs will only increase. So this past 30 years, the CIT has been a lifeline for the city of Tampa, providing the needed services for our community, not only addressing infrastructure needs, addressing those needs that our community has for parks and recreation, but most importantly, addressing those needs for our first responders. We utilize the funding to purchase our first responder vehicles and to provide the service that our community needs. And in many instances, that service from our first responders is a difference between life and death. And so it's critically important that we continue on with this funding for the next 15 years. The estimated $800 million that will be realized from the continuation of this CIT is going to be spent in those areas that I just talked about. And that is the current need, not the estimated need as our communities continue to grow. As many of you know, there's an estimated 20% of this funding comes from individuals that live outside of Hillsborough County. And that is very important as well. I like to refer to that as free money. Individuals that come into our city to work, to visit, to play, that is critically important. And we are on track to have the largest convention year that we have ever had here in the city of Tampa. I know that we just hosted the Association for Counties, and that, in my understanding, was the largest in history. We're set to have the National League of Cities in November, U.S. Conference of Mayors next summer, and we just hosted about 60,000 individuals for the Omega Conclave, and it just continues to grow. People want to be in our community, and that is That's a great position to be in when we look across the United States, but we have to ensure that we continue to provide those services that all of our residents and those that visit our city definitely need. Now, if there was an unwillingness to pass or to continue the CIT, these needs don't go away. We have contractual obligations that we have to pay. We have services that we have to provide, and that revenue is going to come from somewhere. And so this is the logical step, and I know everyone on the commission understands and embraces that this is funding that is necessary to continue to successfully grow, not only in the city of Tampa, but Hillsborough County as well. So I thank you all for your time and your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Castor. Appreciate your comments. Mayor Ross, I believe I saw you walk in. Morning, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Administration, staff, good morning. I'll be brief because you've heard from me before on this. I do want to provide an update. Our City Council did approve the interlocal agreement governing the distribution of the funds should the ballot measure pass. We also submitted a project list. Shouldn't be any surprises on that. It's the same types of projects that we've been funding with this revenue all along. Not surprisingly, it's very similar to what Mayor Castor was talking about because that's how the money can be used all across the board. I do want to point out that really all the cities in the county have the same issues. It's just a matter of scale. So the fact that we're smaller doesn't diminish the relative importance of this. It's just a matter of how many zeros are behind the numbers. And so I went back and looked over the life of the CIT as it exists now, and it varies from year to year, but typically speaking, our capital project, all of our capital outside of the enterprise funds, is usually between 75 and 85 or 90% funded by CIT. So if we didn't have that revenue and we didn't make that revenue up in some other form of taxes, our capital program would be 85 or 90% shut down. Well, that's not possible. So the list of projects that we included are much like Mr. Horwedel and Mayor Castor alluded to, the same types of things. We buy our fire trucks with that. Our police cars are 100% funded through CIT. A lot of our police equipment and fire equipment, all the same stuff that everybody else does, is funded through CIT. I do think it's important to mention that we do have some discretionary projects in our CIT budget. There are some things that we could stop doing, I suppose. We do library enhancements, improvements to the library. We do playground equipment. We do a lot of parks. We have more green space per capita than most cities in the state of Florida, and so we use it on that. We could potentially stop doing that, although I don't think our residents would really want that. But the vast majority of the things that are on our project list are not discretionary. They're things like fire trucks, ambulances, police cars I mentioned, public safety equipment. It's not really discretionary. So in our city, I've been telling the public, look, it's not up to me to tell you how to vote. You vote however you think you need to vote. However, I want you to know with your eyes wide open when you vote that we're not going to stop buying fire trucks, and we're not going to stop buying police cars. It's just not possible. And I don't think the public would be real excited about us not buying playground equipment and stuff either. So it wouldn't really result in a tax reduction. It would result in a tax shift because we would have to make at least most of that money up in some other fashion. The only other mechanism we have at our disposal would be ad valorem property taxes. And so do you want to pay the sales tax, where, as Mayor Castor pointed out, an estimated 20% of that revenue is generated by people that don't live here? Or would you rather just all this falls on the back of the property owners? So that's really what you're voting for, in my opinion, is where do you want that money to come from? We are increasingly, as you guys all know, we are increasingly a tourist destination, both for conferences, seminars, and leisure and practice. So I serve on the Tourism Development Council, so we are well aware, and the Visit Tampa Bay Advisory Committee also, we are every year increasing. We have become, across the nation, one of the top destinations. We have usurped some other places that used to be far above us, and now we are over them in terms of a destination. The more that trend increases, the more of that CIT revenue comes from people who don't live in Hillsborough County. And so I just think it's, for me, I'm not telling anybody how to vote, but for me, this is a funding strategy that probably wouldn't be appropriate for every community, depending on what the circumstances are. But for our community, I think this works very, very well, and it provides some relief to the property owners in terms of property taxes. So that's really it. No surprises. I'm sure you've seen my property or the projects list. It's pretty, it's the same stuff that everybody's got. So that's it. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks for the invitation to be here.
Thank you, Mayor Ross. We have Plant City Vice Mayor Jones. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Hagan and Commissioners. I am Plant City Vice Mayor Jason Jones. Unfortunately, Mayor Kilton could not be here today. However, he would want you to know that even though the mayor's out of town, it is still always a great day in Plant City. So he'll be glad that I said that. Before I read the mayor's letter into the record, though, I would like to first congratulate one of Plant City's own, Commissioner Miller, on your appointment to this commission. I have been honored to work with you for many, many, many years with your work at the Plant City Chamber of Commerce and even before that, and looking forward to working with you in this new role. So from Plant City, a big congratulations. And now I will read Mayor Kilton's letter into the record. Dear Chairman Hagan and Commissioners, at our meeting on February the 26th, the City of Plant City Commission voted unanimously to respectfully request that the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners approve a referendum this year allowing voters to consider extending the community investment tax. Moving the referendum forward this year is critically important to long-term planning as the CIT is set to expire in 2026. We have also approved a broad list of capital improvement projects should the CIT be extended. The projects include public safety enhancement, infrastructure improvements, and expansion of parks and recreation facilities. These initiatives are vital to meet the needs of our growing community. We ask for your approval of the interlocal agreement for these projects. We applaud your extensive efforts to reach a fair and reasonable compromise for the terms of the CIT extension. Municipalities like the City of Plant City have limited avenues to generate revenue, and the CIT has been a much-needed source of funding for capital improvements. In Plant City, we squeeze a nickel so hard we get a dime. We are very proud of our fiscal discipline. If the CIT is not extended, we may be forced to make very difficult decisions about increasing ad valorem taxes or cutting services. It is important to state the obvious. We are asking voters to extend an existing tax. This is not a new tax. Sales tax is also a more efficient way to raise funds for capital improvements because a significant portion of the sales tax is paid by tourists or other visitors who use our facilities and infrastructure. We value our partnership with you and thank you for your continued consideration of this very important matter. Sincerely, Mayor Nathan A. Kilton. Thank you all very much for your time, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. All right, we're going to the public hearing. There's 3 individuals have signed up. David Coleman, followed by Benjamin Braver, and then Tim Pearson. Mr. Coleman.
Hello, my name's Dave Coleman, and none of our distinguished visitors mentioned schools, and I know for a fact that the mayor and Calvin Johnson sitting alongside of me would absolutely advocate for better public schools for our kids. On agenda item D1 and B1, please vote yes to receive and take action to adopt the resolution in the form presented on a directive of our county school board and enter into an agreement regarding the distribution of CIT revenue. Please adjust the CIT to be 1.5% more for our public schools. 6.5% was all staff said that the school board wanted. How vindictive is it to refuse 1.5% of half a penny? Campaigns will be launched to vote no to your CIT if you do not increase the school building portion. 25% for 2 years is better than 5% for 4. Then in 2028, it can be revisited. School board members have said that when the funds run out, repairs will have to come out of the general fund, further hurting our public schools. Public school that members on this board want to see collapse. It just boggles my mind. 0% was your call. Well, you settled for 5, but just do the 6.5. Nothing in this morning's presentation changes my thoughts about the $1.3 billion in transportation funds. I also ask you to support distributing the transportation money across the whole county and not just majorly in the south part of the county. Statements in this room such as not a dime to the urban core until you are satisfied that East and West County are good is not good governance. Consider all of Hillsborough in these decisions. 2/3 of our students are in public schools and will continue to be so for the foreseeable future. Members in this room have pointed a few doors down and blamed the school board for its shortcomings. Other members have said our schools have been underfunded. The ballot initiative for a slight increase in tax to pay teachers is a must. An item one member complained about, don't come here looking for a millage. Let the people decide. Buildings with no air conditioning and our general fund being rated is not supporting our next generation. Only 2 of you voted against the 5% for the school CIT. Start caring about all the people in Hillsborough, especially our kids. Oh, and read about livable, walkable communities. Study what the TPO and Vision Zero bring you. More roads, wider.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Benjamin Braver? Benjamin present. All right, Tim Pearson? Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm Tim Pearson, representing your Hillsborough County firefighters, standing in support of the continuation of the community investment tax. The citizens trust that this board will make good decisions, and the redistribution of this tax, the way you guys negotiated it, you know, there were 2 sides to it, reducing the time frame for it, and then the way that you carved this up in the proposed project list, the firefighters support it. The distribution that I see in the documents addresses the pressing needs of the county: transportation, public safety, public utilities, public facilities. You guys did a good job. It wasn't an easy conversation. I'm sure there was a lot of negotiations going on, but we're fully in support of this. These are community resources meeting community needs. It's an important item. Again, you've done a great job distributing the funds and meeting the needs, the pressing needs of the citizens of Hillsborough County, and we look forward to this passing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. All right, that closes the public hearing. Going to board discussion. What's the?
Move for approval.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner
Second.
Meyer, second by Commissioner Cohen. Commissioner Wostel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to thank first the leaders of Temple Terrace and Plant City for being so distinct and transparent in your line items of what you intend to spend the money on. This type of transparency is exactly what will bring accountability to the government and trust in the people to vote yes on this. I thank the leadership of the City of Tampa for refunding their fire rescue and law enforcement vehicles. Many members of the community don't realize that this tax 30 years ago did fund those critical elements to public safety in our society. I do have a request for an addition to the approved list of the CIT project list. Commissioner Cohen, no need to pinch yourself on this, but as many of you know, I am a very vocal free market capitalist. I believe that it is the best option available to society to elevate our economy. However, I'm not ignoring the fact that no economic policy is perfect and that sometimes certain elements of our societies do get left behind. In this situation, I'll specifically refer to an element of our society called Sulphur Springs. Sulphur Springs is often mentioned by elected officials as being a food desert year over year, seemingly for the past decade. I am now willing to make public that I have been sitting on and formed a private committee that has been in talks to evaluate the economic possibility of bringing and providing subsidies to a grocer, a private grocer, to the area of Sulphur Springs to possibly combat the need to continue to call it a food desert. There are many variables that go into this consideration, particularly for the fact that unbeknown to me, grocers operate on a 1% to 2% margin. It's a very thin line and it's very difficult to overcome. Despite our efforts of research, we have not yet identified an area that has successfully overcome throughout the nation what is considered to be a food desert. However, we must recognize the fact that certain elements of society have been left behind by the free market, and it will take certain help from local governments to step in and alleviate those needs so that single mothers are not having to take one-way bus trips for 30 minutes in the Florida rain and heat with their children simply to go grocery shopping and return. As I said, there are many variables left to determine the economic viability of it. It may not be viable. But that being said, I do hope that this board can agree that we can provide at least a line item that allows for the infrastructure of a location for a grocer in the Sulphur Springs area. And I would ask that to be a friendly amendment to the move to approve that under the I believe the appropriate Attorney Beck is under the community facilities line item, under public facilities, under community facilities.
Yes, facilities and of course only capital.
Yep, that's correct. So only to provide capital to the infrastructure of a grocer in Sulphur Springs.
Commissioner Myers, you okay with that?
I just want to ask a question to Attorney Beck. Do we have to advertise? Because we've already advertised to say what we were going to do on this with the community investment.
So at the public hearing, you have advertised to the public that you're considering a project list, but I think it's well understood that as this board contemplates and considers it, there could be some amendments, and that's why it's been noticed and advertised, so it would be in order.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Cohen?
I would certainly support that being added to the motion. This CIT discussion went on for some time so that we could all agree on the various different provisions of it. And while not everyone was 100% satisfied, I think there was a broad agreement that we came to a reasonable consensus among us. What I want to emphasize, and I'm very excited about it because I think that this community investment tax is extremely important for the community, and the 5% for the schools, very important to Hillsborough County schools. It's important to the cities. It's important to law enforcement for public safety purposes. The list goes on. What I want to say today, though, is that this is not the final moment. We have to do more than just put this on the ballot. We have to convince people to vote for it. And we have to get out there and explain to people what is at stake in not going forward with this. I think the mayors all did a beautiful job of explaining that today. And I want to just take this moment to really implore the private sector to join us in helping us get this over the finish line, help us promote to the public the fact that this isn't a new tax. This is something that we've been doing for a long time, and it's proven successful in helping us to meet our community obligations. So I really hope that once we take this step, we will find some support out in the community to go out and really enthusiastically communicate this to our constituents.
Well said, Commissioner Cohen. I don't see anyone else in the queue. I have just a couple.
Commissioner Kemp?
Okay, is your hand raised, Commissioner Kemp? Because I'm not
Yes.
showing in here. Okay, Commissioner Kemp.
Thank you. I'll just speak 1 minute to the Sulphur Springs. I lived in Sulphur Springs and live very close to it now. And there is a Publix grocery store on Florida Avenue within close distance, but I'm all for resources for Sulphur Springs. Sulphur Springs is a very, could use community investment. And, I don't know about this particular one. It seems to have gotten, or some kind of preparation or discussion that none of us are aware of, that we can add it in. But I'll just say in general, we are desperately in need of the resources. We've had our community investment tax for 30 years. Without it, as you heard, the projects that would continue into the future, we would not have the resources we need. We've been, talking for many years about the number of fire stations that we do not have, and the underinvestments in our transportation, the underinvestments in our fire, the underinvestments in so much. We do need our CIT to make whole, not to make whole, actually just to start to get us to a modest place, because we have really underinvested in infrastructure for decades now. So this is very important. As was brought out, some 30% of this is brought in by tourism and tax on people that are visiting. I think it's regretful for, I think a few things were missed here. In fact, even when I hear about the Sulphur Springs grocery store, one of the things is transit, because there's one of our #1 transit routes goes up Nebraska Avenue and stops right at Sulphur Springs and right at that grocery store that's very nearby, actually. And if we had more investment in transit, which I would love to see, as everyone knows, but we remain so desperately underinvested in transit. But that's for another day at this point. I'll also express my disappointment at the underinvestment, just setting aside 5% for schools rather than the 25% that we've had for the past 3 decades. I think that that's a mistake, that we don't continue to invest in Hillsborough County's public schools, because they have been underinvested in, like the rest of our infrastructure, for many years. And that's why we ended up with schools without air conditioning, without the resources they need. But in all, I'll say that we do need these resources to move forward. It's undoubtedly, we have to keep going to support Hillsborough County, to support Plant City, Temple Terrace, and Tampa as we move forward. So this is a very, very important resource for us to bring forward. And I'm still disappointed that we didn't really support schools in the way that I felt like we should. And again, I would love to see a transit investment in the future.
All right, thank you. I'm going to make a couple quick comments, and then we'll vote. Based on the timing and economic concerns, I opposed the CIT ordinance, and moving forward this year, I prefer to wait until 2026, which is an option. However, when you consider our billions in unfunded needs, such as transportation and public safety, clearly the CIT is needed, particularly when we do not have a dedicated funding source for our transportation needs. Roughly 50% of the county's portion of the initial CIT has been invested in transportation. And as Greg stated in his presentation that the priorities listed in our backup are aligned with our current CIT revenues, as far as roughly 50% for transportation, 18% for public safety, another almost 7% for public utilities. That's over 75% of our CIT revenues. I do want to stress a couple things, and Greg, to his credit, identified that in his presentation. All the numbers here are estimates, and in fact, in some way, I think are actually a little bit misleading, because we're plugging in estimates for projects that are 2, 5, 10, could be 15 years from now. And at that point, there's certainly going to be a much higher cost. So I just want to point that out. And the other thing, and again, Greg also said this, the projects listed here are simply eligible to be funded. It doesn't mean they will be funded or approved. Some of them will, but I can guarantee you many of the projects listed here, we will not move forward on. Either priorities will change by a future board, or simply put, the capacity will not exist to do some of these projects because of the cost increases that'll happen. Again, no decisions have been made on any of these projects. Should they move forward, there'll be several votes on each and every one of them to gain board approval. And one question that I have in potential addition, in the backup, it identified different park projects, but it talked about covered basketball courts. And there's one that came to light recently. I don't think it slipped through the cracks, but Parks just recognized or found out that it's our responsibility, and that's at Turner Bartels for a covered basketball court. So the question is, do we need to add that, or can that be taken up later, or just to be safe, do we need to add it, or what do you think, Bonnie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think just to be safe, I would suggest adding it to the list and make it eligible.
If we can do that, are you okay with that? It's Turner Bartels, covered basketball court. Again, doesn't mean it will happen. It'll be eligible in the future should we decide to do it. I do not see anyone else in the queue, so we have a motion by Commissioner Meyer, second Commissioner Cohen. Please record your vote.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Okay. Next item, interlocal.
Yes, the next item is the interlocal agreement, which is item B3. This interlocal agreement has been approved by all the required parties to date, as stated previously. Mr. Horwedel will present this item, although I'm not sure I gave him much left to say.
Thank you, County Administrator. Again, for the record, Greg Horwedel, Deputy County Administrator. As Bonnie indicated, all of our partners have already approved the form and substance of the interlocal agreement. This really is the last action item for you all to effectuate getting CIT on the ballot in November. So we would look for you to do that. That is our recommendation.
Okay.
Move approval.
Get a motion to approve the interlocal. Commissioner Cohen. Second Commissioner Wostel. I don't see anyone in the queue, so please record your vote.
Commissioner Kemp. Commissioner Kemp.
Commissioner Kemp is muted and not responding.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you, and I want to thank Mayor Castor, Mayor Ross, and Vice Mayor Jones for coming to the hearing this morning, and for all your work on this issue. Very much appreciated.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and from staff, thank you to the board members. Thank you to our partners. It has been a very heavy lift. We're looking forward to continuing to move forward. Thank you for your time and attention.
Okay, Commissioner Myers.
Yes, while we have all the mayors here, I shared with our county administrator yesterday about if we can put all of the information about the projects on the website so that when a citizen goes to one website, they can see Hillsborough County, City of Tampa, City of Temple Terrace, and Plant City at the same time. So if y'all would be considered to be so gracious to put that on your website, we certainly would appreciate it. So they don't have to go to different websites to see, 4 websites to see what the county's going to do versus all the other cities. It's right there for them. Thank you all so much.
Okay, great. Okay, Bonnie, next item.
Thank you. The next item is item B1. This is our 1015 item. This is to receive and take action by adoption of a resolution by directive of the School Board of Hillsborough County regarding a call for a referendum by the school board for additional ad valorem taxes. Sam Hamilton from the County Attorney's Office will take us through this item. We do have representatives from the school district here if there are any questions as well.
Good morning. Sam Hamilton, County Attorney's Office. This is going to be a little repetitive. As Ms. Wise just said, this item pertains to the school board's proposed property tax levy referendum. As noted in the item, the school board superintendent requested that the board take action on the matter and specifically identified November 5th of this year as the date for the referendum. With that, we're here for any questions. It's your pleasure.
Commissioner Wolstel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. There has been much dialogue from members of the community with the board. So the first thing I would like to clear up with Attorney Beck is that the law is clear that we don't have the option to say no. And I would like for the members of the community to hear that directly from the legal.
Yes, Commissioner Wolstel, you're absolutely correct. The way the statute is drafted does not give this board any discretion to not take action.
Thank you very much, Attorney Beck and colleagues. I did lots of review on this. I talked to many legal experts, and I have read the state statutes, Chapter 1011, that governs the school board's authority to direct us to place this tax on a general ballot. However, there are other elements of the tax that exist under state laws, Chapter 1011. As we know and have been repeatedly told by members of our community countless times, the excoriating increases of cost of inflation, compounding in the past 4 years alone of over 20% at a minimum on our communities. Something that might have cost $1 only 4 years ago costs $1.21 today in the United States of America. Individual household incomes have not increased at those same times and to that same scale. It is my understanding, Attorney Beck, after reading Chapter 1011, that the county commissioners are empowered with the element of timing of when the tax should go on to a referendum on the ballot.
Yes, Commissioner, based on the wording of the statute and the rules of statutory construction, while you do not have discretion of whether you can take action, we do believe that this board, that the only way to make sense of the statute is to read it such that the board has some discretion as to timing, reasonable discretion.
Thank you very much. And so to the communities, to the members of our community, I have heard you loud and clear. I have read your emails, the painstaking emails of senior citizens on fixed income being priced out of your own homes, low-income family members being priced out with rent increases or mortgage increases or property increases. This board hears you. And with that information being said, I move to utilize the power granted to the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners under Chapter 1011 of the Florida State Statutes that empowers us to decide the timing to work with the school board on the proper time to place this referendum on the ballot with a recommendation of the general election under state law of November of 2026.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Wolstel, second Commissioner Cameron Cepeda. Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We all know that the school board, in particular Superintendent Ayers, it's come before this board and hearing from the community as well, and a number of teachers, the PTA Foundation, expressing to this board earlier this year the importance of putting this tax on the ballot on November the 5th. And so I'm going to make a substitute motion, if I'm in order, Mr. Chair, for a substitute motion To move for approval for the School Board of Hillsborough County, the school board calling an election on November 5th, 2024 for a referendum of the school board to levy additional Valorem taxes for operating expenses in accordance with and as mandated by the state of Florida. We all know that our teachers are underpaid. We hear it all the time. And these funds would be used if the voters pass this. That's what it's going to be used for. And we have teachers leaving our counties, going next door in other counties to work. Let's take care of our teachers who help our children right here in our county. It is really imperative that we get this passed this November 5th, 2024. Thank you.
Second.
Okay, we got a substitute motion by Commissioner Meyer, second Commissioner Cohen. Commissioner Cohen, you recognize?
Thank you very much. I think probably the board is within its discretion to do what you're suggesting based on my research. I just don't think we should. I think that we ought to place it on the ballot now. We have elected school board members that made the decision to go forward with this. You know, I hear the arguments on both sides. The teacher pay crisis is acute. The cost of living increases are just as acute, and we have two very important competing interests. All this will do is give the people the right to make the choice about whether or not they're willing to pay a little extra for the teachers or whether or not that's too high of a bar to get over. And I think given the fact that there's been definitely compelling evidence presented on both sides, the right thing to do is to put it in front of the voters at the time when the elected school board asked us to do it.
Commissioner Wellstrom.
Mr. Chair, there's also a pay crisis, though, of our regular citizens that are members of the community. And the only other thing was, as a general point of order, Chair, on our new policy, that when a substitute motion is made, for you to re-clarify about what that would do to the original main motion.
Okay. So I'll make a couple, no, I don't see anyone else in the queue, so I'll make a couple of comments.
I'm in the queue.
All right, Rick, we got to fix this. I'm tired of not seeing her hand raised, and she thinks I'm ignoring her. So we got to fix this. Commissioner
No, I
Kemp.
understand you're not.
All right, Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. I have had my hand raised, but I understand you're not ignoring me. I understand. But thank you. I just want to say that I believe that we very much need to let the voters of Hillsborough County decide whether they're supporting this or not. We should just move this forward, as was asked by the school board. We've already really, I think, landed a blow on our schools by reducing their portion of the CIT from 25% to 5%. When they're desperately in need of these resources and have been for decades. In Hillsborough County, we have underfunded both the capital and the operations of our schools for decades. The surrounding counties, as was pointed out, already all have passed this, so they're already able to pay their teachers more. If we don't allow this to be on the ballot, and if the voters choose not to pass it, we will likely face more of a mass exodus of our best teachers from Hillsborough County. And not only is the state of Florida underpaying teachers relative to other states all over the country. In fact, I've seen it ranked as 49th in teacher pay. But that also impacts Hillsborough County, where we're paying less than even our surrounding counties. We should not be doing that to our children, our citizens, to this county. We should give the opportunity, that's all we're doing here, the opportunity to put this on the ballot as we've been asked to do and allow the voters to decide.
Commissioner Wilson?
It was said multiple times from multiple people about that this is us trying to not put on the ballot, which is clearly not the case. We are moving forward with placing it on the ballot, and I want to make that very clear for the record. Thank you.
All right, so the substitute motion is, the initial motion was for staff to get with the school district with the, I guess, the goal, the intent of placing it on the general election ballot November of 2026, and the substitute motion is to move forward, placing on the ballot November 24. Just a couple of comments. And I've stated this previously, is that this is an issue that I'm really struggling with. I'm not questioning the financial needs facing the district, but rather the timing and potential impact to the CIT being reauthorized. I understand the challenges facing the district, both from a capital perspective with the explosive growth and the need to construct new schools and make improvements to existing schools, and as well as the fact that I'm sympathetic to the teacher shortage. Clearly there's retention issues, and our district is at a competitive disadvantage with surrounding districts. My daughter's going to be a senior at Hillsborough High School. She has told me in the past the school's struggling to find and keep IB teachers. So I'm not questioning the need at all. However, the timing really could not be worse. I think most folks would agree that there's never a good time to raise taxes, but we really shouldn't ignore the fact that there are a lot of folks who are really struggling now, and we heard that from speaker after speaker this morning. The devastating impact of inflation has destroyed our buying power. Commissioner Wosel touched on this. I just Googled milk and gas yesterday. Milk is 48% higher today than it was 4 years ago, and gas is 58% higher than it was 4 years ago. There's an insurance crisis where rates are skyrocketing. Electric bills are going up. Again, we hear that repeatedly from our speakers every meeting. Our next meeting, staff's bringing forward a solid rate increase proposal, and now we want to potentially have a property tax increase. We really need to think about the average property owner who is struggling to make ends meet and say enough is enough. And one speaker this morning, I wrote it down, she referred to experiencing skyrocketing bills. The CIT is on the ballot. To add a new tax increase on top of the CIT and all of our other increases, I'm deeply concerned will doom both referendums. And I'm not picking on the school district or targeting the school district. As I just stated in the previous discussion, I opposed moving forward with the CIT this year for these very same financial and economic concerns. And the CIT is not a new tax. It's a renewal. In 2 years, I am hopeful the economic climate will be much improved. There'll be only one tax on the ballot, and the school district will be in a much better position to ask for a new tax, which I believe will all but guarantee passage at that time. So that's where I'm landing on this. I unfortunately cannot support the substitute motion. And Commissioner Myers, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know in 2018, we all felt that we were having two taxes on the ballot. They were not passed, but the voters made a decision that both were worthy to be passed, and they supported them with two taxes. That was one with the school board, and I can't remember, the other was the county transportation tax. Okay, so given their yes, we've had increases and all, but look at us today. I mean, this is a critical need for our children who are going to school. Some of them get upset because they don't have the teachers. They have substitute teachers all year long. If you have a child in school and they're coming home and complaining or telling us, you know, Mom or Dad, you know, I don't have this teacher. I had it. This particular teacher was so good to me, and what have you. I just think that let the voters decide. We place it on the ballot and let the voters decide. They voted up or down. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a substitute motion. Commissioner Myers placed the initiative on the ballot November of this year, second by Commissioner Wostel. Commissioner Cameron Cepeda?
Yes, for the same reasons that Commissioner Hagan and Commissioner Wostel already mentioned, and also for the, you know, the two competing on the ballot at the same time. For those reasons, I cannot support doing that at this time, and I prefer 2026 for those reasons.
Okay, so motion, Commissioner Myers, second, Commissioner Cohen. Substitute motion, please record your vote.
Yes.
This is on the substitute motion.
I'm voting on the substitute. For clarification, I'm voting on the substitute
Yes.
motion?
Yes.
Motion failed 3-4. Commissioners Cameron Cepeda, Hagan, Miller, and Wostel voted no.
All right, back to the original motion by Commissioner Wostel and second, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda. Please record your vote.
No.
Motion carried 4-0, 4-3. Commissioners Cohen, Kemp, and Myers voted no.
All right, thank you. Bonnie, next item.
Thank you, Commissioners. The next item is item C1. This is the delivery of the County Administrator's fiscal year 2025 recommended budget. As we're getting that ready, I'll give some introductory remarks as Tom Fessler is will come to the podium. So Commissioners, the next item, as I stated, is the delivery of the County Administrator's fiscal year 25 recommended budget. This is my recommended budget to you, and it outlines the financial plan that will guide our county's operations and initiatives over the coming year. Our budgeting process each year is driven by a commitment to fiscal responsibility, transparency, and strategic investment. We recognize the importance of ensuring that dollars are spent effectively to enhance the quality of life for our residents, promote sustainable growth, and address the pressing needs of our community. So far this year, the board has held 3 previous budget workshops, March 27th, April 24th, and May 8th, covering the topics of a budget overview, municipal bonds, solid waste, fire rescue, healthcare services, and the sheriff's office budget. You have heard that property values are still increasing, but at a slower pace. Inflation still exists and is impacting the cost of capital projects, insurance, wages, and operations in general. You also heard that with increasing interest rates and robust sales tax revenue, we do have the opportunity to invest in specific one-time capital projects. You are aware that the unincorporated area general fund especially has not had sufficient recurring resources to keep up with the demand of the critical services our residents and businesses require and deserve, specifically in the area of public safety. The fire chief and the sheriff's office have reported that response times have been increasing in our growing community. Both organizations have done incredibly to serve the public despite these challenges. However, a greater financial commitment to those areas is required, not only for fiscal year 25, but for fiscal year 26 as well. The proposed budget addresses those needs while preparing for the fiscal year 26 required investment. The fiscal year 25 budget reflects several key priorities, the first one being public safety. Ensuring the safety and security of our residents remains our top priority. We have allocated significant resources to support the sheriff, Hillsborough County Fire Rescue, and emergency operations. This includes investments in training, equipment, facilities, and personnel to better protect and serve the county. The second is in infrastructure development. Maintaining and improving our infrastructure is essential for economic growth and quality of life. We were fortunate to have those some one-time monies where we were able to make key investments in this area. This budget includes funding for resurfacing, sidewalks, road repairs, bridge maintenance, and new transportation projects. Additionally, we are investing in water and sewer projects to support both our current needs and future growth. And finally, enhancing the fiscal sustainability of the unincorporated area general fund. For years, we've discussed the demands for services and infrastructure needed in the unincorporated area. To address this, we're proposing the millage swap that we reviewed at several budget workshops. We are able to do this by funding $15.7 million of law-required inmate health care with a portion of the $190 million of annual indigent health care fund sales tax revenues instead of utilizing property taxes, which we use today. This will have the result of reducing property taxes for residents in the municipalities while keeping the overall tax rate the same for residents in the unincorporated area, all while enhancing services in the unincorporated area. Tom Fessler will describe this in much more detail. There is no action to be taken today on the budget. Your next opportunity to publicly address the budget will be on July 31st at a budget public hearing. At this meeting, the board will discuss any potential changes to the budget, and you will vote on tentative millage rates that will be included on trim notices that are delivered to property owners in the month of August. If there's any information or analysis you would like to have available for that meeting, or any additional information in general, please let us know. In addition, you'll have two final mandatory budget public hearings, which will be held in the month of September to finalize the fiscal year 25 adopted budget, and the board may also schedule additional workshops during August or September. Our budget director, Kevin Brickey, is not available, so Tom Fessler, Chief Financial Administrator, will go through a short PowerPoint to summarize the fiscal year 25 recommended budget. I'd like to thank the board for providing guidance and input not only during the budget workshops, but throughout the year. Your commitment to the citizens of Hillsborough County is commendable. I'd also like to thank Kevin Brickey, Tom Fessler, and the budget staff for their diligence in preparing today's budget. In addition, our department directors are always looking for ways to best serve the community and to find creative solutions to do so. We have partners who work so closely with us, especially the constitutional officers who have the same steadfast mission of service to the community. And to all the employees of Hillsborough County, I'm so grateful for the work they do to support the public and their unwavering service to Hillsborough County. With that, I'll turn it over to Tom Fessler for the presentation.
Thank you, Bonnie. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tom Fessler, Chief Financial Administrator. This morning, I just wanted to run through a presentation of the fiscal year 25 County Administrator recommended budget with you. There's quite a bit of information in here. There are about 30 slides. I'm going to move through this as efficiently as possible. I just did want to point out that last night I did deliver to each of your offices the budget documents along with the presentation that I'll go over with today. The budget is now posted online for fiscal year 25 along with the presentation that I'll go over today. And with that, one of the first things that I wanted to point out is that the county does submit to the Government Finance Officers Association our budget document every other year, and we have been receiving their Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the past 37 years. Basically, what that means is that your budget documents are meeting best practices in the industry. One of the other things that happens on a very regular basis is we get our credit. We have a AAA credit rating, and we get surveillances from each of the credit rating agencies. We recently had them in here because of an issue, a line of credit renewal that we're doing, and they gave us some feedback and some comments. You can see here that this was done back in May. Some of the comments in here, I won't read all of these, but some of the statements that they made is that the county has strong financial operations, very strong management, and that we're actually rated above the sovereign, which means we have a better credit rating than the United States government. One of the things that we like to pride ourselves on is being transparent. This is a new slide that I came up with this year. It's not something that we've presented before, but just wanted to give the board and the public an awareness as to the type of scrutiny that county operations are under on a daily basis. This is a list of basically entities that are looking at us on a daily basis. Some of the things that I won't go through all of these, but you can see that there are audit agencies on here, both internal and external. We have the media that's regularly working with us on their stories, the residents, regulatory agencies, and again, the rating agencies. As far as some of the efficiencies within our operations, just wanted to go through, and you've seen this slide before, county administrator operations, county administrator positions. If we go back and we look at fiscal year 07, if you exclude fire rescue, you can see we had about 5,600 positions. Right now we're operating county administrator with 4,900 positions, so about 730 positions less, excluding fire rescue, than we had back in fiscal year 07, which is a 13% decrease. Having said that, while the population has increased by about 25% over that same period of time. One of the things that we are focused on is public safety. So the second graph here basically shows you that we have increased the positions in the fire rescue area by about 356 positions, they're 38%, with a 25% increase in the population. So it does show you that we're targeting public safety. The next slide Goes over some millage rate information. It shows you back in fiscal year 99, our countywide millage rate was 7.75. It is currently 5.6, so that's a 27% decrease. As far as millage rates go in the countywide fund, or the unincorporated fund, area fund, and comparing that to comparable millages or the same type of services that are covered by millages with the various cities, you can see that our millage rate is more than 1 mil less than each of the cities. We're about 28% less than the millage in the city of Tampa. The other thing I wanted to point out again also is I indicated that we had a AAA credit rating from all 3 credit rating agencies. If you look across the United States, there are about 3,100 counties in the United States. Less than 50 counties have a AAA credit rating from all the 3 credit rating agencies, and we are one of those counties, so less than 2%. The fiscal year 25 budget environment that we are dealing with, that this budget is trying to address, is that inflation does remain somewhat high. It's over 3%. The federal government is targeting inflation to come down to about 2%. We are not there yet. Taxable value growth for property in Hillsborough County this year is down. It's lower than it has been in the last 10 years. So we're down to about 6.9%. That's still a healthy increase. We realize that. But just to get as perspective, last year, or for the year we're in now, fiscal year 24, the growth rate was 11.6%. We have had some strong sales tax growth in the years preceding this year, as there's been a recovery from the pandemic. And so one of the things that's happened is sales tax revenues have exceeded our expectations. We also have interest revenue for the first time in over the 20 years that I've been here. It's usually very small, but we've got some interest rate revenues. We're taking some reserves that have built up, and we're taking those interest revenues, and we're making some commitments or proposing some commitments to you for capital investments in this budget. One of the other things that we're working on right now is the fire union contract that expires at the end of fiscal year 2024. Also, we do see increasing jail populations and increasing response times in fire rescue and in the sheriff's office. There are some new government mandates that you are aware of. There's a homeless mandate that's coming from the state government. Florida retirement system has some changes. And finally, the Fair Labor Standards Act, or FLSA, is going to be changing and impacting us this upcoming year in 25. So what are our strategies to kind of deal with that, or that are built into the budget? What we're proposing this year, and what we have done to this point, is we've done what we do every year. We look at long-term vacant positions vacant greater than a year. We're eliminating, I believe, about 22 positions this year based on that analysis. We have discussed with you at previous meetings some fire rescue initiatives that we've put into place. As I just mentioned, half-cent sales tax revenues and reserves are higher because of some growth that we've had. So we're proposing to invest some of those revenues this year and bring some of those reserves down for some one-time capital investments. Also, with your community investment tax, we have some what we call pay-go money, or outside of covering our debt service, some dollars that are available for some additional investments also. As Ms. Wise has mentioned, we are proposing a millage swap in this budget. I will go over that in a few minutes. We are proposing to use indigent health care funds to fund inmate health care at the jail, along with looking at, we're currently doing a study to see if we can commit a portion of the indigent health care funds to support our fire rescue budget. This is just kind of a history of the percentage growth in taxable values. As you can see, it shows the Great Recession, a recovery from the Great Recession, some strong growth in the past few years, and then a decrease in that growth in the current year, or for fiscal year 25. One of the things I did want to mention on this slide, you can see that we're at 6.9%. Pasco County is at about 14%, and Pinellas County is at about 9%. So the Pasco number doesn't surprise us, but we are kind of scratching our heads a little bit on Pinellas. As far as the overall budget that we're bringing to you today is $10.1 billion. That's up from $9 billion last year, or a 12.4% increase. That seems like a big increase. And then, so if you break that down, though, I just wanted to point out that that first line there on the bottom that says transfers, Transfers are a governmental budgeting thing and accounting thing where we move money between funds. That does not mean additional dollars that will be spent on operating purposes. It's an accounting mechanism to move money around. So if you pull that out of the equation, the increase is about 7.1%. And then if you further pull out of that equation some of the one-time investments in capital that we've made this year, that's what's driving the most significant portion of the budget. What you get to is about a 3.4% increase in the budget that's related to operating type activities. If we look at the $10.4 billion budget and break it down to where it's spent, you can see that we have the sheriff's office there as the largest bar, and then our enterprise funds, which basically represents our water and solid waste department. Our healthcare services, which is supported by the Indigent Healthcare Fund. You recently approved a pass-through of some grant dollars to local hospitals. That's making that bar go up this year. Those are dollars that are coming in and going out to the hospitals. So it's allowing local hospitals to leverage some grant dollars. And so that bar is higher than it would normally be. And then fire rescue, of course. So public safety is a focus. What we want to go, what I would like to do over the next few slides is just kind of go over the general fund information as it relates to the budget. And so we have the countywide general fund, which is a millage that's charged to all residents in Hillsborough County that own property. That funds things such as the sheriff's jail operations, each of their constitutional officers, so the clerk of the court, supervisor, tax collector, property appraiser. And then you can see some other services that the county provides on a countywide basis that the municipalities do not provide on their own. So we only have one medical examiner's office in Hillsborough County. Hillsborough County does that, so we charge our millage in the countywide fund helps to pay for that. Same thing with pet resources. We are the pet resource operation in Hillsborough County. So that's kind of the picture of how that works with the countywide general fund versus the unincorporated area general fund, which I'll go over in just a second. How does that break down? You can see that in the countywide fund, you've got the sheriff's operation is the biggest bar there. That $485 million represents primarily jail operations that are being funded on a countywide basis. So we've only got one jail in the county that all of the municipalities also use. You can see that there's funding there for your constitutional officers, and then it goes down from there. In the unincorporated area, that's where we like to say the unincorporated area, I think it's Commissioner Kemp that kind of uses this term all the time, is kind of the city of unincorporated. So the services we provide there are similar services to what each of the cities provide on their own. So we have sheriff patrol operations in the unincorporated area. Each of the cities has their own police force. So that's the comparability between the cities in the unincorporated area. Fire rescue operations, each of the cities has their own fire departments. And then we have parks and recreation operations in the unincorporated area. And as you can see, code enforcement, development services, and public works. And that breaks down where you can see that the largest bar there is fire rescue. And between fire rescue and the sheriff's patrol operations, that represents about 68% of the budget in the unincorporated area fund. If you take the next bar in, which is public works, that primarily relates stormwater operations and transportation. If you bring that bar into the mix, then it goes up to about 83% for those three different areas. Capital budget, we've mentioned it several times already. We've made some one-time capital investments. So the capital budget has gone up by about $368 million, or about 23%. The majority of that would be in the water department, where we've got our One Water campus down in South County. We're getting started on those, on that project. So that the water bar went up by about $213 million this year, but we've got some additional investments in the transportation, fire, and parks areas also. This next slide just kind of is a history of our general fund reserves. As we tell you, the credit rating agencies like to see us at above 20% to justify our AAA credit rating. So you actually have a board policy that states we'll stay between 20 to 25%. This just demonstrates that that's where we're proposing to be in fiscal year 25, along with previous years also. Now we get into kind of the millage swap. So this is something we haven't done before, but what we're trying to do, one of our focuses is public safety. So we're trying to get additional dollars over to the unincorporated area. So when we do the millage swap this year, we would say is dipping our toe in the water a little bit. We didn't, you've got different levels here that we could do. We said, let's start out with a 0.1 millage swap and see what that looks like. That would mean that we lose $16 million, almost $17 million of revenue in the countywide fund, but we pick up about $10 million in the unincorporated area fund. Because the taxable values of the two different funds are different, it's not a one-for-one. It's not a one-for-one thing. So on an overall basis, we're going to be losing about $6.8 million in revenue because we're actually going to have a millage that's where on the countywide side, on the countywide side, there's a benefit to the city residents, and you'll see this on the next slide. Well, their taxes will actually go down on the countywide side. As Ms. Wise mentioned, we're trying to facilitate or help to facilitate this by paying for some inmate health care with the indigent health care funds. The millage swap. So what are the impacts? So if you live in the unincorporated area of Hillsborough County, we're proposing to give you enhanced fire rescue services, and the impact of doing the millage swap is no impact. So your taxes will not go up or down based on this action. If you have property value growth, of course, your taxes will go up to the amount that it's allowed by statute. If you live in one of the cities, we're going to decrease, you'll see a decrease on your taxes for your countywide millage. And they do not, if you live in the city, you do not pay the unincorporated area millage. So the impact of the millage swap is actually a reduction in taxes to those residents. You can see here some of the fire rescue initiatives. These are things that we've addressed with you at previous workshops. We have put some things in place, such as a three-person rescue service model. Roving units, we're deploying 6 additional roving rescue units. We've adopted a new system of care transport policy to transport individuals to the nearest hospital or nearest facility. That seems to be going very well, and we have also ordered 10 additional, we're proposing to order 10 additional rescue units. Community investment tax, we had about $60 million in PAYGO money available. $12 million of that we were proposing for a new fire station construction at Anderson and Sly, and the remainder of the funds would go to transportation initiatives. As far as half-cent sales tax reserves, this is where the reserves did start to get higher than we like to see them in this particular year, so we're proposing to bring those reserves down in fiscal year 25 and make some strategic investments. That includes replacing 3 fire stations. That includes 16 new ambulance units or rescue units that I just told you about. Then we have some parks investments to Nonasassa Park, and then some security improvements. As far as general fund additions, a lot of these are coming from our departments. You can see that we've got some additional parks and conservation investments that we're proposing to make here. Branston Park, Phase 2, finishing up Cross Creek Park, some additional funding for pickleball, and some other investments. Other general fund budget additions outside of parks. I'll just highlight a few of these. I won't go through all of these. Medical examiner facility is in need of an expansion, so we're proposing that. You're aware of the sheriff's headquarters proposal to move the sheriff's headquarters. So we have funded that through the general fund. The African American Arts and Cultural Center, we have another $2 million going in there. We provided some seed money for our pet resources facility because that facility is getting very old and is going to eventually be in need of replacement. One of the other things, the final things here I'll mention is Upper Tampa Bay Trail. We do have funding in here to finish that final segment of Upper Tampa Bay Trail and fully fund it. And then finally, we have left some dollars there's some dollars available for commissioners as we go through the summer to make some additional investments. We have about $7 million of countywide general fund dollars for that. Then the next slide, just basically, these are some things that we address every year. So I won't go through these, but just to let you know that there are other needs out there that we need to address to keep continuation operations moving along. Just wanted to highlight again your new nonprofit policy. Flagged items last year that were approved in the budget, those were one time for nonprofits. Any nonprofit award going forward, based on your policy, should be one time. The policy does ask for nonprofit funding proposals in advance of the board taking a vote. And finally, the county administrator cannot make any changes in nonprofit funding. As far as the commissioner flagging process, from this point until the end of the budget's adopted in September, at meetings that we have regarding the budget, the commissioners are free to have flagged items that tell us where they would like to vote on, for you to vote on specific changes to the budget. Your next meeting regarding the budget is on July 31st. It's a public hearing. That's where you'll actually set initial millage rates that'll go out on trim notices to residents. And that's usually where we start to collect flagged items from the board. And we'll create a list of those flagged items so that you'll be able to vote on those at the final budget public hearing in September. And then finally, I believe this is the last slide. This is just kind of a budget calendar, where we've been, where we're going. I mentioned the public hearing on July 31st, and then the two required final budget public hearings in September, where you'll finally adopt the budget on September 19th. We are open to additional workshops if you'd like to have them. And at this point, I'll just open it up and for any questions you might have.
All right, thanks, Tom. Commissioner Wostel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you, everyone, for last year. I had attempted to do a millage swap. It was a little late in the game just because we were kind of rushed into the millage process, but I believe now it sounds like we have more of an opportunity to do a flat swap rate from countywide to unincorporated, and I hope that we see that through. That will allow us to have more funding opened up in our MSTU, our Municipal Services Taxing Unit, which is the unincorporated budget. Thank you very much, Mr. Fessler, as usual. You do a really good job. I did have a question for the county's budget officer, which of course since 1998 is directed to be the county administrator. Last year or earlier this year, I don't know, every day is running together at this point. Mr. Fessler, we did a cleanup of the budget position impact in the county. I wanted to review how many positions were greater than a year that had been funded. We have a policy in place. We had some oversight on that, but we did clean it up and relieved, I believe, 7 figures in funds. Can we affirm, administrator-wise, that that was accomplished in this recommended budget?
Yes, and thank you for asking that. And I believe Tom said about 22 positions were cleaned up during this process. Okay. Exactly what that dollar amount is, I don't have that off the top of my head,
okay.
But about 22 positions.
Thank you very much. The other questions that I have is under Board Policy 3.5.11, each annual budget process will include an exercise to identify budget efficiencies and other business opportunities. Can you describe to us what efficiency processes were placed on the directors of each individual department to try and identify cost savings, and if we did identify any cost savings?
Sure, Commissioners. Yes, when we send out annual budget instructions to our departments, we do include in there basically, there are forms that they can fill out, and we do request that they consider efficiencies in their operations and provide us with any proposals. I would have to get back to you on I don't have that information available to me now, what efficiencies might be proposed or built into this budget, but I can get back to you on that.
Okay. What is the community service standards that are required in our board policies? I have searched every board policy. I think we have over 250. I can't find, even though we require it of the county budget officer, which in this case is the county administrator, we require her to establish service priorities and levels of service standards, the community service standards, to guide the budget development process and resource allocations. I cannot find, for the life of me, what they are.
Commissioner, we do have, I'm looking in the budget document, so there is what we call a matrix of service that's included in the annual budget document. I'll have to make sure that it's still in here, but typically it's been in here, and it identifies all the services provided by the county. So basically, when you adopt the budget each September, you're adopting those continuation services that are included in the budget document. And you know, as you go through the budget document, you can see what the various services provided by each of the departments. So when we say community service standards, I think that's just basically, you're saying that you're funding continuing operations and the services that the county currently provides.
Okay, I guess that's confusing to me, just because if it's the guiding principle of what we're directing the county budget officer to do, not once in our past 18 months has a review of this matrix and what processes in these community service standards, what we should be continuing to do, been brought up to us. And I'm curious to see which is the last time that we've done that. A wise woman once told me that in 2008 in Hillsborough County, even during the recession, the Board of County Commissioners did not take the position to overhaul those community service standards. And right now, in this day and age, the inflation is something that we often talk a lot about, but when past boards haven't made those tough decisions, those get compounded onto future boards. And I will quote, we don't have inflation because the people are living too well. We have inflation because the government is living too well. That's Ronald Reagan. And I would like to make sure that while we ask for consistent rate increases of water, trash, waste collection, landfills, sewer collection, wastewater collection, excuse me, that we are really putting forward due diligence on what these basic core competencies that we are requiring the county budget officer to create the budget off of. But not once have I seen the process for us to come up and review and say, hey, maybe we don't want to do this, or maybe we want to do less now and more of this in the future. And I think that that's something that has not been brought up once and should be brought up as we go forward through this budget process. And I will just finally leave it and yield the floor, Mr. Chair, on saying that we have a process that says proposed amounts budgeted for the countywide general fund and the unincorporated area general fund do not exceed the amount budgeted for each of the respective funds of the adopted annual budget for the prior fiscal year, plus amounts for inflation and population growth based upon price and population indices adopted by the county's budget officer. It would require a supermajority vote of this board to override either of the two previous board policies that I've just mentioned. I have said many times in the past that one of them was not being followed. I do see on this report, if you look in your consent items, that for the first time that we've been commissioners, Commissioner Cepeda, the quarterly budget to actual financial report will be placed on the BOCC's consent agenda every quarter. For the first time, that was done today, and I thank you for fixing that. Is the recommended increases in this budget higher than or lower than or equal to the prior fiscal year's amount plus inflation and population growth?
Commissioner, I know we do that calculation. I don't have that information with me today, but we can get back to you on that.
Okay. Well, I hope that I can get some answers to all of those many questions, because last year I had a lot of questions, as you might have remembered, and I brought up to you, and I was told certain things, those certain things didn't happen, and then all of a sudden we couldn't do them, and I'm going to be very diligent this year to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Thank you very much.
And, Commissioner, I did want to point out that on page 173 of the recommended budget document, we do have the matrix of services, which identifies the services provided by the county.
Commissioner Kemp?
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say to staff, in my 8 years, I have never seen, and I think it gets better every year in terms of presenting the budget very clearly and for the public and for the board as well, to really understand the budget challenges and the way the budget is arranged and divided. And as you know, I've been a stickler for, people have said over and over again, the county's money, the county's budget, when they're really the county's general fund, when there's truly two general funds. And I thank you for being so clear over and over again about that. I think it's so important for the public and for us to understand that we have our unincorporated fund, the city of Hillsborough County, as you said before, but I can't emphasize it enough because I think it's just very central to really understanding the budget. And then the county-wide, both of which are allocated to different buckets by state law. That is, it's not a choice we make in serving the constitutionals, the jails, the courts, the countywide, as well as our economic development and social services. And the unincorporated is serving the kind of city services that Plant City, Temple Terrace, and Tampa have. And, I think you explained that well and put it out there in a clear way. And again, just to emphasize, we are in, I think it's just so important for us to understand that our millage in unincorporated county where 1 million people live is 4.3 mils as compared for city type services or those kinds of services that, for our roads, our fire, our sheriffs, all of those basic things that a community provides. Our millage is 4.3 mils, and in Plant City, it's 5.7 mils. In Temple Terrace, it's 6.4 mils, and in Tampa, it's 6.2 mils. We are, and I think the percentage I heard was 28% underfunded relative to those other places, and that's what pays for our road, our fire stations, our sheriffs, our firefighters, our county staff, our code, those kinds of things. And it has been desperately underfunded for many, many years. I'll say too, I don't know that government is living so well because again, I'll say that our schools have been disturbingly underfunded in Hillsborough County for decades, and as well our transit system, which I always say is the most underfunded transit system in the nation for a metro area this size, not by a little bit, but by huge gaping amounts. And those are really important things. But so I'm not sure that we have lived that well, but I really thank you to staff for being so clear in outlining how the budget works and for looking at the opportunities there are to perhaps shift around funds or make other ways of paying for some of it in, with the reserve fund in the healthcare at this point, that we have not been aware of. And I hope that it doesn't, we'll see impacts later on, and see how that balances out. I'm somewhat concerned, I'll just say, about reducing the countywide by an equal amount to the unincorporated in terms of millage, not in terms of amount, because we're losing more money by doing this overall to manage government. So I'm hoping that if we move forward with that it is that it works for us and we're able to provide at least what we do now. And I do have concerns about that, but I do appreciate the presentation. I do appreciate the work that staff has done, which I find really extraordinary in putting together this budget. And I've always been proud of the county for looking at the investments and the kinds of investments that we could make and doing it wisely and carefully.
All right, thank you, Bonnie and Tom. Thank you for the presentation, and we'll continue this discussion in 2 weeks, I guess, during our reconciliation meeting. So,
Thank you all.
Yep, thank you.
all right.
Commissioner Hagan, the next item on the agenda is yours regarding the one-time funding award, moving it from Voices for Children to Bay Chapel, Inc.
Oh, okay, thank you. Board members, this is a food bank in New Tampa that's operating out of a trailer. I've visited on multiple occasions, and similar to other food banks, they operate on a very modest budget, and there's always an enormous line. Whenever I visit them, I asked what their capital needs are with the expectation of flagging it during the budget process, and they identified, I think it's 3 freezers, a refrigerator, and an additional trailer. It's $10,000, and again, I was going to flag it, but then when I recognized that there was a nonprofit that we funded during last year's budget for actually more money than this, and dealing with staff, they said it wasn't necessary to wait until the budget year. We could simply move that money over. So it's $10,000 to a Bay Chapel Food Bank, and I'll pass the gavel to Commissioner Myers and make that motion.
Second.
Okay. Seeing no one in the queue, please record your vote.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you, board members. Bonnie?
Thank you. The final item are future discussion items.
Any board members have any future items?
I do.
Commissioner Wilson?
And I know you've been here a while, Mr. Chair, but this one might make you fall out of your chair. Tell me if I'm wrong. So I would like to request that the county attorney's office just provide a brief review. It doesn't need to, just to our offices, of the requirements and processes to change the HART charter. And I will tell you this because there is currently a movement to try and increase the cap from 0.5 mils to 6 times that to up to 3 mils and of property taxes. And I just think that that's something we should all be critically aware that's attempting to be done in behind the scenes committee meetings. And right now the message I will tell you to that committee is that they don't need our support to change the charter, and I would like 100% clarification on what that exact process is. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Kemp?
Yes. I'm concerned about emails that I know that we all, or I believe we all received just in the last couple days from some of those living in the Keystone and Odessa communities about the dropping lake levels and well levels in those areas. And what the emails say or state is that that there is more water being drawn to support our water needs in those areas because of drought, and it's really having massive impacts, and that the maximum that Tampa Bay Water was supposed to draw at the very most was 93 million gallons a day, and that they're drawing actually to deal with the drought 135 million gallons a day. I do not know about the accuracy of all this, but it looks like it's having immediate and very concerning impacts. So I'd like staff to report, and it sounds like a really urgent issue, or have Tampa Bay report to us at the next meeting and try to ascertain about the accuracy of this and what is possibly being done to address this, or what we can do. So that's my future item.
Okay, I'm going to recognize Commissioner Cohen, and I'll just say we don't get into board discussion during future issues, but I know that there was, I think, an email from Tampa Bay Water that you had mentioned earlier. Commissioner Cohen.
Thank you very much. There is. Many of our offices were in receipt of this correspondence. I think a bunch of us immediately jumped on it and asked Tampa Bay Water for an explanation. They have sent that. It's in writing, and we are going to forward that to everyone who wrote into us. I don't want to, it's quite a long explanation, but what I want to tell you is the long and short of it is the reason that the lake levels have dropped is not because Tampa Bay Water is overpumping. It's because we are in essentially a water emergency. We've been down to 1 day a week watering region-wide now for almost a year. SwiftMud just extended that to September. And Tampa Bay Water lays out the fact that they have actually been reducing the amount that they're pumping from those lake sources because they recognize that those water levels are low. Second, the allegation was made that Tampa Bay Water is over pumping their permit. That is absolutely not correct. The permit is calculated based on a 12-month rolling average. So the fact that they may be over the amount during the dry season is offset by the fact that they're way under the amount during the rainy season. And right now, the average 12-month is below the 90 million gallons a day that is permitted. Like I said, there is a full written explanation of this. It's going to be sent to everyone who wrote into all of our offices. I believe the other commissioners were copied on it, and we'll get that out as quickly as we can.
All right, Commissioner Wilstel.
Mine's very brief. I've never emailed one of the other commissioners, but I have an additional email so do I just email it to one of you? It's from the Tampa Bay Water's Chief Science Officer. It's very in-depth.
The easiest thing might be to send it to us.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Commissioner Kemp.
Nate?
Quickly.
Yes, I'd just like to respond. Thank you. I was just surprised it wasn't raised. I knew we had 2 members of Tampa Bay Water, but I know these emails all came at the last minute. I did not see anything from Tampa Bay Water. I just wanted to make sure that if this was an issue, that it wasn't even going on for another, or without any explanation to the public for another couple of weeks. So it sounds like we do have some response to that, and I'm not surprised. I just hadn't heard. So thank you for that information. And so I'm guessing that we don't need this report, except that maybe there might be a consideration of a presentation to the public, or I'm not sure what. I guess we could send this back, but to have someone from, to address those communities and give them the information.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you.
Bonnie. Okay, I don't see any other issues, so we're adjourned.